Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, and I'll give you one chance to figure out who I am. Too late, it's Mr. Warren Hayes himself right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Yes, on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because I do this show live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Daylight Savings Time, depending on the period of year. But it's always at 9, at least since I've started doing it on Thursdays. It's always at 9 as part of your Smart to Hayes evening of fantastic wrestling commentary. I hope you guys were all over Anthony Suter's bum on youtube.com/smarttodeath. He starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. I follow up at 9. And there's nothing but good times to be had when you put us all together in the same room. I am very, very happy that you guys are here tonight because, yes, like I said, this is a very, very live show. It is extremely live, and it is so live that we have people joining me in the chat here this evening. Great friends of the show as usual. Tim Traver is here. How you doing, Tim? You had a hard day today, Tim. I hope that the next hour is able to get your mind off of things, buddy. I really hope so. Mr. Fretz is here. We have Dean, who's here as well. Richard Storm, how you doing? Kristen Ashley is here as well. Robert Larry. We've got Carlos, who's here as well. We have, the boys from Kayfabe TV are here. Good to see you guys. Sigma is here as well. Holy guac. CM Phil. Blaine is here. Anthony from Smart to Death. What? Everything. Jonathan Pilquist. We're all here this evening live in the chat, and it's a fantastic chat, folks. If you ever have the chance to drop in live, you should come over. It is a fantastic time. Great people who hang out here in this chat room. Just as you are great people to be watching right now on youtube.com. And if you're listening live, why don't you give the video a thumbs up, share the link out, let people know what's going on here. It would be really appreciated. And, you know, the thumbs ups, they always help. They always help. And maybe you're listening to this on your podcast application, your favorite podcast app. The Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available, completely 100% available on all podcast platforms, from Apple to Google, with Spotify and Stitcher and Podbean and Podcoin and Himalaya and I said Stitcher, right? Yeah, because it's there too. Look, there's a whole bunch of podcast applications out there, and if you want to support the show on that end, well, you follow, subscribe, whatever action you have to do there, a like, a review. Man, all that stuff helps. It helps out so much. There wasn't an audio podcast last week because, as many of you who tuned in live last week realized, my audio was shit. So I preferred not to terminate any eardrums further by releasing it as a podcast. But everything should go smoothly tonight. Everything is going as planned. So everything should be great. You know what's going on with your boy Warren Hayes as well? Here's a couple of things. that have been going on. Be sure to tune in on your favorite podcast application. Find No Particular Angle. That's JPQ's Big Paws on podcast. I joined him where we talked about WWE treating its audience like morons. And it was a great time. We talked quite a bit. We even talked about having sex with ghosts. So if you want to check that out, No Particular Angle on your favorite podcast app. I was a guest this week. It aired Wednesday. So go check it out. That was fantastic. And since we're talking about John as well, the Blazer Bros, myself, JPQ, Anthony Suter of Smart to Death, we're going to be heading over to the Smart to Death channel tomorrow, 9 p.m., youtube.com/smarttodeath. We're going to be doing our G1 check-in. I haven't done one in a while. G1 is on its last legs. We're heading into the final we're heading into the final stretch of the G1. So so hang on to your hats, folks. The Blazer Bros are going to ride again tomorrow, so that should be a lot of fun. Yeah, tomorrow, Friday. So be sure to check that 9 p.m. over on the Smart to Death streaming channels. Be sure also to head on over to belltobells.com. That's BELLTOBELLES. For all your women's wrestling coverage, the premier site for women's wrestling coverage, analysis, thoughts. Such a bunch of talented people hanging out there and writing some fantastic stuff. Of course, it is Kristen Ashley, who is editor-in-chief, overseeing the whole shebang, who's making sure that you get the women's wrestling coverage that you deserve. And you deserve beautiful things. You deserve wonderful things, which is why you should pick up a t-shirt signifying that you are not dead, as the WarrenHayes, such as the official WarrenHayes I'm Not Dead t-shirt, which you can buy right now at whatforapparel.com/I'm Not Dead without any punctuation. So that's whatforapparel.com/I'm Not Dead. The link's in the description. There's also the little goofy image that's going to pop up right up here in a few minutes, so you can find that link there as well. And if you also feel up to it, you can also support me by just dropping a tip. Head on over to tinyurl.com/tipwarren and leave a little amount of money. That's always appreciated. And one very last thing, very last thing. Next week, big SummerSlam weekend coming up, which of course means that there's a takeover show. I'm planning on doing a takeover watch along. So I will sit down in front of a camera like this. And if you want to watch NXT TakeOver along with your boy, I'll be here. I'll hang out the entire evening, and we can talk about how great the show is, or how much it stinks, but it probably won't stink much because let's be honest, it's a takeover. It'll be great. So I'll be excited for that. I hope you guys will be excited for that. So think about popping around, jumping in whenever you can. That'd be nice. Why don't you come over? Just bring snacks. Oh, there we go. Oh, I'm glad the kayfabe TV guys are here. Merch. Yes, of course. How you doing? Darren Kirkby is here. Darren, what are you doing up at this time of night? Holy smokes. Joe Anthony's here as well. Good to see everyone. So good. Good to see a whole bunch of friends of the show. Makes me really happy. Something that's not quite as gay or as happy or as cheery, though. Today we learned the passing of wrestling legend Harley Race, and I'm talking wrestling legend in the proper way, or the Oxford Dictionary definition of legend, not necessarily the WWE definition of legend, although both apply. But there aren't many wrestlers who can carry the mantle of legend as solidly and truly as Harley Race. He passed earlier today. It was announced, and the entire wrestling world has been reacting to it. Race has always been considered as one of the toughest men in wrestling. Even Ric Flair has openly said it, that he actually thinks he's the toughest man in the world, or was. He was born in 1943 in Maryville, Missouri. He was kicked out of high school at 15 and joined a wrestling show in a traveling carnival at that young age. He actually debuted in wrestling at the age of 16. So he has been doing this for a while, and he got hardened very, very quickly. And he has been through quite a lot in his lifetime. Not only has he not only did he survive the not always interesting carnival circuit. Not interesting is not the word I'm looking for. The sometimes not quite welcoming or the difficult circuit that is that was Carney's at the time. He also survived a car crash in 1961, which it was a pretty bad car crash that killed his first wife. I think they were recently married at that time, and he himself couldn't wrestle for 21 months. They thought he would never wrestle again, and he got back. He his first major spot is when he entered the AWA, where he was known as Handsome Harley Race, and he was put in a tag team alongside Pretty Boy Larry Hennig. Yes, the father of Kurt Hennig. He's also been credited as being the innovator of the diving headbutt during his time in the AWA, and he would later openly regret having created it, seeing the damage that the diving headbutt caused to many wrestlers, Dynamite Kid notwithstanding. He's an 8-time NWA champion who joined the WWF in 1985, where probably a lot of us in the northern parts of North America got to know him as King Harley Race. He hated the gimmick. He openly stated that he always hated the gimmick. But definitely, absolutely one of the most legendary wrestlers, innovative even into his 40s. A man who defined how wrestling happened, or at least how brawling evolved in wrestling. Just a strong, tough son of a bitch. Very sad to see him go, but he will be dearly remembered. Harley Race passed today. So there we go. Let's get to it. Let's start talking about WWE, because that's what I do. I like to recap. I like to start by talking about the main roster shows. We're gonna start by talking about Raw, and I'm gonna spoil it right now, everyone. I liked Raw this week. I thought Raw was one of the strongest episodes from a long time. And it actually started off this week with the 24/7 match where they had Drake Maverick and R-Truth, for some reason I couldn't remember his name, already in a tag team match, mixed tag team 24/7 match. Drake Maverick with his wife Renee and Renee Michelle, of course, and Carmella with R-Truth. And you know what? It just started off with action. It started off with the 24/7 title. Just jumped right in. I am ready for every episode of Raw to start with something in the ring, even if it is the 24/7 stuff, every week, as opposed to promos, as opposed to the McMahons coming in to talk whatever. I am 100% okay with how they started Raw this week, and I can only wish that they started off more often like that, because it was really fun. And it was fun for what it was. It ends up with a pileup with everyone because they didn't call it a lumberjack match, although it was surrounded by WWE wrestlers, but it wasn't a lumberjack match, and the 24/7 rule was suspended. No, it was a mosh pit match. It was a mosh pit match. And the only moment where they had any kind of reference to this being a mosh pit was when, I think was it Drake Maverick who was tossed outside of the ring, and then the mosh pit grabbed him and crowd surfed him back into the ring. You know, it was fine. But basically, there's a pileup at the end when the match ends, and it turns out that Mike Kanellis runs out with the belt. He actually wins the belt, heads into the locker room. Maria comes at the door. She knocks on it and she says, "Let me in." And Mike Kanellis is not sure it's Maria. He says, "What if you're Carmella? Actually, what are you trying to what are you trying to say here? And what are you trying to sneak your way in here, Carmella?" And she tells him, "I'll break this door down and kick you in your vagina, Mike, if you don't do it." And she ends up pinning him, right? She ends up pinning him for the 24/7 title. And now Maria Kanellis is the current reigning 24/7 title champion, and she's pregnant, so no one wants to pin her, with reason. No one wants Maria to take a bump. I don't want her to take a bump. Jeez, you kidding me? That'd be kind of sadistic. Um, I've been very much wait and see on the Mike Kanellis, Maria Kanellis storyline, but this has kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and I'm on the verge of not liking it. I'm really on the cusp of just all out loathing the angle, but I'm still ready to give it some some time to grow. But right now, I don't see how it's going to grow Mike Kanellis' career at all. I feel like it's right now, Mike Kanellis is growing Maria as a character, growing her career, and growing Drake Mavericks over on 205 Live. Because this week, Mike lost to Drake Maverick in a fantastic match, really fun storytelling match. But I mean, it's so weird. This is another thing, the dichotomy that exists between Mike Kanellis on Raw and Mike Kanellis on 205 Live, the way that the way he portrays himself, the way he handles himself, two completely different things. It's really it really feels like it's a left hand right hand situation, left hand not talking to the right hand situation. But I like it. I'm still very curious to see where they're going to go with this. I'm not a fan of what happened on Monday, but I don't know. Well, I'm still very much in wait and see situation, but right now the way they're handling it over on 205 Live is much, much better than on Raw. We had Rey Mysterio starting off the gauntlet match this evening to determine the number one contender for the U.S. title to be defended at SummerSlam. Rey versus Cesaro was good, but I kind of felt that Rey was a step behind here for some reason. And Cesaro was fantastic, and the more Cesaro gets ring time, the better, because we keep getting reminded of how amazing he is. There's a great final exchange between the two on the top turnbuckle where Cesaro lifts Rey in a fireman's carry, and Rey flips around to do a Hurricane Rana, but Cesaro blocks it, and we're still on the top rope here, folks. He blocks it. He lifts Rey into a powerbomb position, but Rey reverses it into a top rope bulldog. As we say in French, that was good shit, pal. Then Sami Zayn was next, and he got knocked out straight out of the gate. Andrade was next for Rey, and he got the pinfall, eliminated Rey. He did the I will never not pop for Andrade Cien Almas doing the moonsault into the standing moonsault. I will never, ever not pop for that. Andrade then pulls Rey Mysterio's mask off. But, shall we be reminded that Rey Mysterio, for a long period of time in WCW, wrestled without a mask. So it's not that much of a big deal. Ricochet then comes out sort of like to defend Mysterio's honor. Ricochet turns it up, early in the match, hitting all sorts of explosive offense. And there's even at one point Ricochet resists one of Almas's patented back elbows, one of the most beautiful back elbow in the business. To me, Almas's back elbow is a Judas effect. It is so good every time. And he resisted, he being Ricochet, and he delivers a poison Rana, which was good shit. That was really, really nice. And Ricochet won. Ricochet won the match. So we'll be getting Ricochet over at SummerSlam. Then we got a moment of bliss where Alexa recaps a whole bunch of stuff that happened. And she has video of Becky attacking Fit Finlay and Natalya, who were training in the ring. Fit was showing Natalya ways to reverse out of the disarmor, right? And here's the thing. What's fascinating to me here is Becky, when she walked out, she called Fit a traitor, right? And that, I thought it was funny, not only because he's Irish, but let's not forget that at the Royal Rumble, when Becky wanted to enter the match in lieu of, I think it was Dana Brooke that got taken out, when Becky wanted to take her place, it's Fit Finlay who okayed it and went, all right. So it is Fit Finlay, who set in motion the events that led to Becky Lynch main eventing and winning at WrestleMania. So of course she has reason to feel, fit. God damn you. What are you doing? Where are your allegiances, you punk? So Becky basically comes on, she appears on screen to threaten Alexa. They're going to have a match later on in the evening. Then we got the Revival versus the Usos versus the OC. That was a hell of a match. It was the 10th time since November 25th that the Revival and the Usos met on television in a match in one form or another. But I mean, there's nothing really that you can say. The Revival and the Usos work really, really great together, and the OC won the Raw Tag Team Championships, and they had to. If they put them in this match. I've been talking about this for the past couple of weeks, it feels. I know I talked about it last week. Feels like I've been talking about it for a long time. But the OC need to be established. If they want to create the true dominant heel stable thing, well, they have to establish the OC as strong and dominant, so give them titles. The right team won here. If they were put in this triple threat, they had to win. They absolutely had to win. It was a hell of a match. It was a great sequence where everyone is hitting offense from the ring onto the floor. A superplex off the top rope. The right team won. I liked it. We had the Viking Raiders squashing more dudes. The Street Profits were there still being hype men, and I don't like it. I really, really don't. And I know a lot of people don't either. But it's a very, very poor use of the Street Profits, and they are just getting annoying. We had Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss, which was fine for the time it lasted, and Alexa got some really nice offense in as well. It was a fine match, but Alexa then pretended getting injuring her ankle, so that sort of ended the match, gave Becky the win. But then Nikki Cross jumped up on the apron and she was like, "Hey, you taking my friend out. I'm going to fight you." And then we had Becky Lynch fighting Nikki Cross, which again was fine for the time it lasted. Ended up with Alexa Bliss attacking from behind once the match is over, and then Natalya comes out and she puts Becky in the sharpshooter. Love the match, love the angle. I thought I dug all of this here. I thought it was really some fun time. I thought it was really some fun time with the ladies here. It was really, really, really a good little setup they had going here, and I like that they're continuing the Nikki Cross Alexa Bliss friendship. I think it's serving Nikki Cross fantastically. Gives us another angle, another potential story to blow up. I'm glad that they ended up not pulling the trigger on it when I thought they did, which was at the last pay-per-view, which was Stomping Ground? What was the last pay-per-view? It was Stomping Grounds, right? There's just so much WWE stuff. So much WWE stuff. How you doing, Chad? How's everybody doing? A lot of people seem to be excited that the Good Brothers are getting some time. CM Phil says, "I'm here for WWE actually using the Good Brothers again." Dean says, "No more 50-50 booking. We have to establish the OC. Have Finn join up and boom! Yeah, that'd be the dream." Joe Anthony says, I'm still not over the Good Brothers sharing a name with the 2003 teen drama. Talking about the OC, of course. Robert Clary says, "I have a feeling that the WWE will add Alexa into the match between Bayley versus Ember at SummerSlam. Agree or disagree with my comment, chat? Let Robert Larry know what you think. He's a good guy. It's an interesting take. Let him know what you think." Then we got 2017 Dolph Ziggler, who comes out to HBK's music. That That was his gimmick in 2017. You remember? He'd come out to everyone else's gimmick, right? That's what he's doing. Came out to Shawn Michaels music versus Seth Rollins. This match was good. Seth beat the hell out of Dolph Ziggler. Holy hell. I love the DDT attempt by Dolph that was reversed into a Falcon Arrow. I'm a sucker for a Falcon Arrow, so that tugs at my heartstrings straight off the bat. Dolph eats so many super kicks, and he's eaten them. It's comeuppance for what he did to Shawn Michaels, right? But then Brock Lesnar's music hits, and not only does his music hit, but Brock Lesnar comes out, and that was a surprise. And Seth is ready to throw down with Brock, but Dolph hangs on to Seth's leg, which allows the beast incarnate to get the upper hand, and he starts beating the shit out of Seth. Germans everywhere. Well, German suplexes. Maybe there were a few Germans in the audience, but I'm talking about German suplexes. F5s Seth into the post on the outside. And then it happens, pulls out a chair, unfolds it, puts it in an upright position, and he starts F5ing Seth onto the side of the chair, gut first. That was some nasty stuff. It is hard, folks, to take that bump properly. And Seth, well, he starts bleeding from the mouth. Mr. No Blood and Guts, Vince McMahon. What the hell, man, Vince McMahon. But Seth took his beating like a pro. This was good stuff. This was fantastic stuff. And then F5, it doesn't end there. Seth gets loaded into an ambulance. And then Brock keeps it from leaving. He prevents the ambulance from leaving. Goes all the way to the back of the ambulance. Opens the doors and yanks Seth out on the gurney. And then Seth just sort of slides. The gurney just slides off like into the arena or into the wall. And then he goes and picks up Seth and he F5s him onto the gurney. Folks, that could not have felt good in any way. There was no way Seth did not go owie, 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 ow, ow, ow. Absolutely no way. That was crazy because Brock launched him into the air. I liked this. I liked this. I really, really liked the angle here. I thought it was fantastic. A good old fashioned, I'm going to crush your soul beating. It was good stuff. I missed a One Tree Hill reference, Kristen? Yes, of course I'm going to read it on our anniversary, darling. What are we talking about? Oh, I'm going to start a stable called One Tree Hill instead of the OC. I'm going to call it OTH. Yeah, that's good stuff. No, there's no. My new, for everyone reading in the chat right now, my new nickname, contrary to what Ms. Ashley would like you to believe, my new nickname is not Caramel Tornado. I don't know. And there's no new nickname. There hasn't even been an old nickname, and it's not Caramel Tornado. That it doesn't make sense. I don't know why. That would happen. Anywho, after this, Joe and Roman attack each other backstage because it's the Samoan Summit, remember? And Joe is in no mood to talk. They just brawl around the ring. And Roman at some point just throws the steps on Joe. And that is a nasty, nasty toss. Like, he just launched the stairs. They flew. The camera work here was fantastic, by the way. You know, I have a tendency to point out production problems, especially on the camera work with WWE. With the resources they have, with the resources they have, there's no reason for them to have subpar levels of production. But here, the camera, the way that it cut, like to a wide shot where you just saw at the very last second Roman throwing the steps, like he was his motion was finished, and you just saw the steps flying. That was fantastic stuff. Drew runs in and tries to go after Roman, but they go after Roman. They double team, they being Joe and Drew, double team Roman until Cedric Alexander runs down for the save. He eats a lariat from Joe. The Usos run out. The OC run out, and everyone is fighting at the top of the ramp. Cedric Alexander gets taken out, or so we think, because next thing you know, dude is on top of the LED board, and he dives off of it. Cedric Alexander coming down for a save, folks, is such a big deal for him. Being inserted into a top-tier storyline with Roman Reigns, that's really, really big-time stuff. And I'm really happy that they're doing that with Cedric, that they had shelved for so long. That's fantastic. And the dive is one of these defining career moments, right? This is the kind of thing that in retrospectives, years from now, you know, when Cedric starts talking about how great his WWE career took off, he's going to be like, well, he'll be able to pinpoint this moment and say, look, this is the moment. This is the moment here. And I've had people on Twitter say, well, no one reacted when he came out. Of course, because he hasn't been properly built at all. But now they're starting to properly build him and make him do crazy ass shit that's going to help him get over. That's fantastic. I loved it. Like I tell you guys, great episode of Raw. We barely had any interviews. It was all wrestling. I loved it. I thought it was a very strong episode of Raw. Of course, this is the first very Heyman. It was very Heyman heavy. Like everyone is pointing out, you know, this was the first Raw under Paul Heyman. It showed. And I'm fine with it going forward like this. SmackDown Live, let's talk about this one. Kevin Owens said that he started cutting an interview because cutting a promo because Shane said that he would not be at SmackDown Live. And KO says that maybe SmackDown Live this is how SmackDown Live should be every week. You know, it's making it about the talent, not your stupid face, Shane. Drew comes out, though, and cheap shots Kevin Owens, and their match starts. They were to have a match, and it starts impromptu like. It was a fun match. Kevin hit the frog splash, the swanton, and the stunner on the table, and then in the ring. Drew even had a super Samoan drop. It was good stuff. I like this match. It was a great, great opening. I really liked it. Then we have Dolph Ziggler who cuts a promo. Bayley and Ember Moon are teaming together. Oh my goodness, they're opponents. They're opponents at SummerSlam tonight. They're in a tag team. How will they ever coexist? Well, you're about to find out. I liked how Bayley, though, in this interview, she showed a little, just a little. She said, we're teaming together, but don't forget that, Ember, that you're in this position here because I chose you. And I'm like, oh, damn, Bayley. Woo. That's some fire here. I liked it. In the chat here, we're talking about, Joe Anthony's talking about, I'm so proud, happy for Cedric. Went from not getting booked for months to getting 2 Raw main event spots in a feud with Drew. That is something to point out. Phil said, I actually didn't really enjoy Raw as a whole. It felt like a mess. There were some things I really liked, though. Dean says Drew is very underrated. I don't think he's... Yeah, no, I think he's underrated. Yeah, I agree. And Tim says that he heard a lot of changes going backstage. And CM Phil also says KO was brilliant this week. Tim also likes him. Blaine also likes him. There's a lot to love about babyface Kevin Owens these days. Why is Aleister Black back to cutting promos in his dark room? Why isn't he every week on SmackDown kicking the faces off of people? Someone want to explain that to me? Please. But at least it didn't last too long, him asking for someone to pick a fight with him, because Sami Zayn later on SmackDown Live answered the call, and we're getting Aleister Black versus Sami Zayn at SummerSlam. You know what? It's going to be fun. You know what? Sammy's going to lose. But you know what? Sammy's going to make Aleister look like $1 million. And that's exactly the booking that this is exactly how they're booking Aleister Black. Booking him really, really strong with guys who can go. It's fantastic. It's smart. We got the Bayley and Ember Moon versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross match. It was a fun match where Ember Moon shined. She got so much great offense and she looked fantastic. It was an interesting ending where Moon hits the Eclipse on Nikki Cross, but Alexa knocks her out of the way, actually tosses her into a post, and then hits the Twisted Bliss to pin Ember Moon. So Moon and Bayley lost. I thought that was interesting. I thought it was interesting. But then it set up Bayley after to deliver a Bayley to belly on Ember Moon, setting up some tension. So the idea here was to build tension. And the tension is building. Then we had Jerry Lawler holding the King's Court in a set that looked like it was stolen from a Mall Santa storage unit. That was cheap stuff. It looked bad. And Jerry Lawler is talking because we're in Memphis, and he invites Trish to come out. And I don't remember Jerry Lawler having a segment, an in-ring interview with Trish Stratus, where he's not going, "Oh, puppies! Oh, Trish! Oh, I want to show you. Why don't you show me your booty, Trish?" Suddenly, he was quite respectful. Trish wonders if she should have one more match, but guess who comes out to convince her that she should? Charlotte Flair. It had been speculated all throughout the weekend that this was going to happen, that we were going to get Charlotte versus Trish at SummerSlam, and that's what we're getting. And I'm fine with this. Doesn't make sense that you're doing nothing with Charlotte. Think you have to keep her. You want to keep her strong, and I think giving her a match with Trish, it's right up on her level, I guess. I'm perfectly okay with it. Probably won't be match of the night, but should be entertaining nonetheless. What do you mean, Kristen? You clipped the part where he shared his new nickname. I didn't share any new nickname. There's no new nickname. There's no nickname. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Dean says they got the throne prop set off Friday after next. And Sim Phil did point out that he was drooling over her Instagram. Her Instagram, which is still... There's pictures of her with her kids. So at some point you're like... I don't know. We had an edition of the Firefly Funhouse. We have Ramblin' Rabbit telling everyone that he's Finn Balor's biggest fan, but Finn has made a mistake. He unleashed the Fiend. And again, dropping the fact that we don't quite know what the Funhouse is, that it needs to be exposed. We don't quite know what it is yet. And we saw the Fiend, not the Fiend, but we saw Bray Wyatt arrive at the end, sort of menacingly, and like, Rambling Rabbit sort of buggered off, and Bray had a good chuckle. Then we had Finn Balor versus Dolph Ziggler. There wasn't much to it. It was an excuse to get the Fiend out again, who appeared somewhere out of the dark, and it distracted Finn long enough to allow Dolph to super kick him for the win, him being Finn. Then we got Shinsuke Nakamura versus Mustafa Ali. Ali got some fast offense in at first, but Nakamura hit an exploder suplex, and he goes for a Kinshasa at some point, and is countered by a hell of a super kick by Ali. But Ali eventually rolls up Nakamura for the win. So, technically speaking, your boy Mustafa has a shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Perhaps it's SummerSlam? We shall see. Final match of the evening is basically the New Day versus the OC. It's Kofi Kingston versus AJ Styles. When the OC came out, they came out to their new Titantron, and it was written at the top, "The only club that matters." I'm like, guys, that's a little much on the nose. It's a little much. Come on, WWE. Anyway, AJ and Kofi fight and brawl on the outside. Look, it was a solid match, but very much about Styles and Kofi hitting their classic offense. I like the final segment where the OC go after the New Day, and Kofi nails just takes out everyone with a dive. Styles then Ushigoroshi's Kofi back in the ring, and the phenomenal forearm is interrupted by a Trouble in Paradise in midair, and Kofi got the win. Kofi is booked so damn strong, like a WWE champion should. It's crazy how strongly he's being booked. And I mean, even before, and I forgot to mention, before in the evening, we had Randy Orton recapping his history with Kofi Kingston again, and that's important. That's part of the reason why this match is interesting between them both at SummerSlam. But wow. Kofi is so strong. He's booked like a champ. And then the final segment of the night, we had someone dropping some rigging on Roman Reigns. And I'm laughing because this was so overproduced. And when in WWE do you ever see someone walking to their interview spot? And I'm like, what's Roman doing? There's like 90 seconds left to the broadcast. There's no overrun. Get on. Why is he walking there? And I'm like, wait a second. He's going to get ambushed. It takes away all element of surprise until it's not exactly an ambush. I was expecting someone to fly out of nowhere. But no, he gets a bunch of rigging dropped on him. And he no-sells it. It's not that he no-sells it. He managed to escape it. He managed to he was lucky enough to not be crushed. But now there's a whodunit. Who tried to crush Roman Reigns? I'll be honest with y'all, guys and gals. I dig a good old-fashioned whodunit. And it seems to me in WWE, we haven't had a whodunit in a long time. Like a who did this. And I know that there's a lot of stuff that we never got a payoff to. You know, who was the secret general manager? Who pie-faced Kevin Owens? We'll never know these things. But there has to be an outcome to this because this is just, it was wonderfully awful. It's so funny. Dean says the camera work and Kyla Braxton's urgent screaming for help was bad. I thought Kyla's screaming added so much to it. But there was like 6 different camera jumps in like 2 seconds. It was ridiculous. Just so overproduced. Oh, I thought it was a good time. I thought it was fun. So, good episode of SmackDown as well. Preferred Raw. But SmackDown was solid as well. Some good stuff. Didn't get Daniel Bryan's announcement again. He's still sulking. We'll see. They can't drag this on too long, can they? Yes, they can. Guys, quick reminders. If you want to support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, there's a bunch of ways that you can do it. You can do it by giving a thumbs up on this video, sharing out the link. If you're listening to this on your podcast application, giving it a review, a like, a follow, a subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube as well if you're not already a member. That would be fantastic. And if you have the inclination, you can also support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show by purchasing the I'm Not Dead t-shirt, because people seem to think that I'm dead. Well, I'm not. I had it printed on a t-shirt, so that means it's true. You can find it at whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. Link is in the description, or you can send me a tip over at tinyurl.com/tipwarren. Let's talk about the G1. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the G1 here. Not go too deeply into it because as a reminder, going to be joining JPQ and Anthony Suter tomorrow evening, Blazer Brothers, over on youtube.com/smarktodeath to talk about where we're at in the G1. So I'm looking forward to that. But if we go back in time a little bit, we can talk about the results and some quick thoughts about some matches. We had Kota Ibushi defeating Lance Storm on July 27th. That was night 9. And Lance Archer, low key, one of the most interesting performers most interesting performances throughout the G1. He's been really, really good. He's been really good, and it's been refreshing to see him because he's not a face that we're used to seeing in singles matches in New Japan. So it's all his matches feel new, and that's good. And this was a good match. It was a good, solid match between them both. Will Ospreay defeated Bad Luck Fale. This wasn't much of a surprise here, and yeah, this was okay for what it was. But man, this is not the Bad Luck Fale from 7 to 8 years ago. This is a whole different man, whole different guy. Zack Sabre Jr. lost to Evil. And you know what? I'm realizing that the G1, one of the stories of the G1 is Evil's coming out party. And I don't want to go too much in depth with it, but Evil has really been turning up the heat throughout this tournament. And poor Zack, he blamed his performance, his pitiful poor performance throughout the G1 on Boris Johnson being elected in Britain. So I think that makes him a babyface now. Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Sonata in a fantastic match. I really, really liked it. And Kazuchika Okada, yeah boy, finally broke the undefeated streak of Kenta. I don't know if you saw earlier this week, Japanese fans, I think it was the Super J podcast, who made a compilation of Japanese New Japan tweets from fans. They don't like Kenta. They think he's boring. They think he should go back to Noah. And he should have stayed in WWE. They're not enchanted by him at all. But he got his first loss against Kazuchika Okada, and it was a good match. It was a good, strong match, and I adored the final visual because Kenta did. Here's the thing. New Japan. I like it when I start up. Here's the thing, as if I'm going to learn, y'all. New Japan sees their matches as milestones and never as ending points or turning point, not end points. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. But they mostly as milestones. That's why they're able to tell long-term stories and able to bring back classic pairings that feel important or feel good or feel like they're part of a larger storyline, because they're always building towards something. It's one of the reasons why Okada versus Omega was so goddamn compelling. Kenta versus Okada was a very strong match, and Kenta was dominant. He took Okada to the limit, but Okada, being one of the best wrestlers in the world, showed him who's boss. And at the very, very end of the match, there's this fantastic shot where Kenta is sort of sitting down, leaning against the ropes, and he's got like his arm leaning against the second rope. And just a little further up, like the camera shot is coming from the bottom of the ring. So Kenta, it's over the shoulder Kenta, and you have Okada there with the belt, standing, looking down at him, hands on his hips, the championship belt. Like really, like just the visual, just saying, yo, I live here. This is my house. You're just a guest in it. I was like, damn. And this, just by doing that, it sets up so much great stuff for the future. It really does. This serves as an initial kickoff point for further matches with Kenta and Okada. Because this was not a definitive end all. This was fantastic booking right here. See him Phil in the chat says Roman should buy an I'm Not Dead t-shirt just to know he's okay, and I agree. He should. What4apparel.com/I'm Not Dead. Next, we're going to talk about Night 10 on July 28th. We had Hiroki Goto getting finally his second win, defeating Toru Yano in a nice lighthearted match like only Yano can deliver. It was fun. 2 Chaos members. Fun little match. Tomohiro Ishii defeated Juice Robinson. I'm telling you, Juice is looking really, really good in this G1 this year. Looking very, very strong, and he's still having competitive matches. It's looking great for him down the line. I think this is the coming out party as well for Juice. Evil over on A block, Juice over on B block. This was great stuff because of course he was wrestling Tomohiro Ishii, absolutely one of the best wrestlers in the world, totally underrated. Commentary puts over the fact that Zack Sabre Jr. is such a great tournament wrestler. Man, Tomohiro Ishii, in my opinion, unquestionably the MVP of the G1 again this year, because he was without a doubt last year. Jeff Cobb defeated Tai Chi, and that was something. But it was a strong match. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like Cobb's holding back for some reason. I don't know why. It's weird. The G1 hasn't been as much of a shining moment for him as I thought it would be. Switchblade Jay White finally got another win, defeating Shingo Takagi with Takagi. Excuse me. Shingo, I think a lot of us picked Shingo to be a lot more dominant throughout the tournament here. I was a bit surprised. That he lost here, but we'll see what happens. White still has upcoming matches against Naito, he has matches, or he had his match against Naito. I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. But he still has Moxley down the road. we'll see. We'll see how White still fares here, but he's been very, very low key here as well. And we had as the main event Jon Moxley versus Tetsuya Naito. I thought it was good. I thought this was a strong showing by both guys. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned watching Naito wrestle is he excels when he wrestles Gaijin. There's something when he starts fighting non-Japanese wrestlers that just clicks in him, and he just becomes really, really violent and brutal. This was great. This was absolutely great. It was a fantastic match. One that you should definitely check out. Jon Moxley versus Tetsuya Naito was great stuff. Let's see now. We're up to night 11 right here. Night 11 for the A block now. Bad Luck Fale. We had Bad Luck Fale versus Kota Ibushi. This wasn't a good match. It's rare that I come out really like piercing like that, but this was not a good match. And it actually turns out Ibushi defeated Bad Luck Fale. Actually turns out it's Ibushi's first win over Fale ever, if you want to believe that. We had Will Ospreay versus Zack Sabre Jr. in a hell of a match. It was amazing, extremely good, where we had Sabre counting out of the Stormbreaker into an octopus hold, and a nasty looking octopus hold. It sort of turned into some kind of variant, and he got his first submission win of the tournament on Will Ospreay. So Ospreay not shining as much as maybe some people expected. But look, this G1 has been so unpredictable and nuts. I don't think anyone's predictions actually came. I don't think anyone's predictions came true here. There's been just too many surprises, too many spoilers. I mean, like Toru Yano coming out with wins. It's just been weird. Kazuchika Okada defeated Lance Archer. I thought this was good. It was a nice, strong match. Again, a great showcase for Archer. No surprise here that Okada went over. But Archer, man, he's been solid and consistent the whole way through. Kenta defeated... Sanada defeated Kenta using the Skull End and Moonsault. So... Kenta's streak of victories coming to a crashing halt here. I'm glad Sanada picked it up. I think this is Sanada's second win, I think, which was odd because I really thought they were going to showcase him much more than that. And Hiroshi Tanahashi defeated Evil in a really solid main event. I have nothing more to add. It was a good, solid main event. Nothing to write home about, but they laid into each other, and it's still surprising. It still surprises me that Tanahashi still accepts to work such strong style like this. And finally, the matches that happened earlier today, or late last night, depending on your point of view, August the 1st, night 12 of the G1, we had Jeff Cobb defeating Shingo Takagi again. Shingo definitely not having the G1 that he was anticipating. But this was solid. This was a match where Jeff Cobb had someone that he could play off his strengths off of. Play off of his strengths off of his strengths. This is really, really good. Going to take just a sip of water here. Because this is when I have to announce with a certain amount of gusto. Ladies and gentlemen, Toru Yano defeated Jon Moxley. Toru Yano defeated Jon Moxley. Not only does this break Moxley's winning streak in the G1, but it is his first New Japan defeat. And it is the most Moxley thing when you think about it. To take his first loss against Yano, it makes perfect sense. It was so good. It was so stupid good. Moxley played off of him perfectly. And it ended with Yano taping Moxley's leg to Shota Umino's leg on the outside so that Moxley couldn't get back into the ring on time to beat the 20 count. I thought it was fantastic. And Yano was so happy. He even offered him a free DVD and 10,000 yen at the start of the match. Moxley could have had that. Oh. Like Carlos says in the chat, who had Yano in their pool? Jesus. I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow with the Blazer Bros. But folks, just keep this in perspective. Last year, Toru Yano defeated Kenny Omega, at the time, IWGP Heavyweight Champion, pinned him clean in the ring. He defeated Naito this tournament. He defeated Jay White. And now he broke Jon Moxley's winning streak. Folks, when are we giving Toru Yano his spot at the main event of Wrestle Kingdom? Jesus! Oh, God, I love the G1. I love it so much. Naito defeated Juice Robinson in a fun little brawl as well. I thought Juice looked really good in it. Jay White defeated Taichi in an okay match as well, and Hiroki Goto defeated my boy Ishii. They had a stellar match at the G1 last year. They had another one again this year. But once again, you can't have a bad match with Tomohiro Ishii. You just can't. But Goto and Ishii, they're on the same wavelength. They work really, really well together. I was thrilled that they had another exquisite match together. It was tons of fun. Tons and tons of fun. So let's have a look here at the current standings for the G1. In Block A, we have Kazuchika Okada, the only participant who is now currently undefeated at 12 points. At 8 points, we have Kenta, Kota Ibushi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Evil at 6. These are all wrestlers who still have a chance at winning the block. However, Lance Archer, Will Ospreay, Sonata, Zack Sabre Jr., and Bad Luck Fale, they are all out of the running. All they can do is spoil it for others. Over in Block B, it's a different story. You have Jon Moxley, who's still at the top with 10 points. At 6, and the rest, most of the field then, are all tied at 6 points. Ishii, Robinson, Yano, Naito, Cobb, White, Goto, all at 6 points. I'm digging B block right now because literally anything is going to happen. This is drama for the next few days, folks, because anyone can pull out in front here. This is going to be really exciting, and I might just still prove everyone wrong. And Naito's going to come out on top, redeem himself from his despicable start, and his comeback story's on the way. Taichi and Shingo are out of the tournament, though. They both have 4 points. They are donezo. But if you want to hear more interesting thoughts about all of that, come and join us tomorrow at 9 p.m. YouTube.com/smark to death. Can we talk about Toni Storm's NXT title run? I think we're at a moment where we have to take a minute here just to talk about where we're at with Toni, because there was a lot of talk online and through pundits who didn't seem to care much for Seth Rollins' Universal Championship run. Thought it was very lackluster. Or if we're going to talk about lackluster if we're going to talk about, lackluster title reigns, it breaks my heart, but we can't really look any farther than Toni Storm's run with the belt. She had, of course, had a great Mae Young Classic. Had some fantastic matches there. She also had a fantastic match last year against Dakota Kai over at NXT UK. She's a great wrestler, don't get me wrong. I like Toni Storm. I like her a lot. And I don't think this is on her. I feel like the booking has not been on her side. She won the title at TakeOver Blackpool in January this year. So she's 8 months into her championship run. She defeated Rhea Ripley in a rematch. She defeated Ginny. She defeated there was a triple threat match at When Worlds Collide, if you want to count that, but I think you should. Was a triple threat against Bianca Belair and Nikki Cross. She defeated Nina Samuels. That's pretty much it. Now, I don't know how if you guys in chat watch NXT UK, but feel free to chime in, of course. The problem that NXT UK has befuddles me because they have a absolutely fantastic roster of women talent. They have Toni Storm, and I said it. They have Ginny. They have Nina Samuels, Piper Niven, Rhea. They have Kaylee Ray now, Jazzy Gabbert, who's fantastic, Isla Dawn, Killer Kelly. They have an extremely deep roster of women, but they don't seem to be able to properly build them as strong contenders to Toni's title. Nina Samuels is an extremely talented, highly entertaining wrestler. She did some fantastic stuff in Eve. She's really, really good. But she was barely built up to face Toni Storm. Sort of came out of nowhere. A bit of an iffy gimmick. Nina Samuels show, sort of like a, almost like a vaudeville thing. Not quite sure what the vibe is. And I don't know if you guys saw the match that they had, she and Toni Storm, but it kind of stunk. It was not very good, and that it was shocking to me because Samuels and Storm are fantastic. Ginny and Toni Storm have had legendary battles on the independent circuit in the British Empire and throughout Europe. British Empire. But they were really, really, really fantastic together. Epic battles. They had basically a blow-off match, just a nothing match, where it was not up to par with what they're usually capable of. Now they brought in Kaylee Ray. They tout her as being this mad woman who can do crazy things, the female Sabu, which she is. Again, if you're familiar with her work in Eve and so on and so forth. But if you just look at her and what they're doing with her on NXT UK, you're like, what's so special about her? There's nothing special about her. This is not on Toni. This is on the booking, but I feel like I really do feel that her title reign has not been special. It's been extremely underwhelming. And it's baffling to me that it is, because there are too many strong competitors, within the confines of NXT UK to be able to sit down and to not have the match that we expect out of her. It's, for me, completely baffled. Let me see what Chad is talking about here. Where we are talking about Toni Storm here quite a bit. Joe Anthony says, I liked her feuds with Rhea and Nina Samuels, but the matches were a bit boring. And I mean, the feud with Nina Samuels was basically non-existent. The feud with Rhea is the only real feud that she's had so far. They're doing their best with Kaylee Ray, but Carlos says Toni should lose the belt to either Ginny or hell, Dakota. Can't wait for Dakota Kai to get cleared and return to competition. CM Phil says, this week I found Rhea is dating I found out that Rhea is dating a... Okay, I'm sorry. I'm quite sure. But CM Phil says Ginny versus Toni on NXT UK wasn't that great. Their matches elsewhere have been better. Jason PS3, hi, by the way. Toni never had a threat for her title. That's one of the main issues. And, she's a very good... she's a very, very good figurehead for the division. But her reign has just been so lackluster. And that's a shame. It really, really is a shame. And since we're talking about since we're talking about women's wrestling, I'm sure you heard Tenille Dashwood signed with Impact earlier this week. It was announced. I think this is the best move that she could do. I don't think there is no reason for her. Let me start over. Outside of going to women's only independent promotions, there's no reason for her to go anywhere else than Impact right now. There really isn't. I don't think WWE would be all that welcoming. And besides, their women's division isn't quite exciting these days, is it? She just came away from Ring of Honor. And we know that in Ring of Honor, the women's division is a bit of a joke. Very poorly managed. Impact right now, very objectively, has the most interesting setup for women's wrestling. I'm capable of popping in and out, watching some Impact once in a while. I actually joined the Get the Tables boys last Friday on their restream of Impact. Was able to watch Jordan Grace versus Kiera Hogan tear it up. And really, when you think about it, the women on Impact, the women's division on Impact is very, very deep. And they being Impact, they give their women time to perform. Of course, we think about Tessa, we think about Taya. They also have Rosemary, they have Su Yung, they have Kiera Hogan, Jordan Grace, Jessica Havoc. Wow, they got Madison Rayne, but nobody's perfect. Tenille being added to that it makes absolute sense, because it's the only place right now, as far as a promotion with a TV deal, airing matches right now, it's the only place that has real, interesting, fun, competitive women's matches, where the women's division is not relegated to the back burner. So it was the perfect move for her to happen. AEW, maybe you shall say. What about AEW? They have great women. Sure. But, as far as their pay-per-view showing with the women so far, I'm a little iffy on their women's division right now. Not on the women themselves, but how it's being handled. I'm going to give them the benefit to see what happens when television sets in October. We'll see what happens there. But right now, even AEW, it's not a proven commodity. So like I said, right now, it makes the most sense for Dashwood to go to Impact and tear it up there. She's going to have fantastic matches with everyone there. Hell, she might even get a good match out of Madison Rayne. Who knows? And one last thing, just before we sign off for the evening here. When I tweeted this out and I said, I used those exact words, best move that Tenille Dashwood could do, go to Impact. I started getting responses. Impact's a dying brand. Impact's a dying brand. Impact is dying. Impact, the people have been saying that Impact is dying for the past 10 years. Oh yeah, but we're closer than ever. They've been saying that Impact is dying for the past 10 years. Until they actually do pull the plug on Impact Wrestling, I am not buying into any rumors about any death. And this is regardless of any promotion out there. Because there are some people who say the same thing about Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor's dead. They said Ring of Honor was going to die when they brought Jim Cornette aboard. They said Ring of Honor was going to die when Kevin Steen and El Generico and Adam Cole left. They said that a Ring of Honor is going to die now that the Elite is gone. Listen, if there's one thing that I wish I was able to have fellow wrestling fans who can predict the death of promotions, to have your level of clairvoyance and vision to be able to make that kind of assessment. Not even when WCW was at its worst were people saying that WCW is going to fold, it's going to die. ECW is not going to die. Vince McMahon is secretly bankrolling it. I've heard this so many times before about so many promotions. Oh, it's dying. They're going to die. They're going to die. And they're still... Impact TNA has been around for such a long time now. Oh, and they're dropping the NWA affiliation. They're going to die. Oh, ECW is dropping the NWA affiliation. They're going to die. Man, I have heard this shit so many times. Coming to me with an argument. Oh, she's joining a dying brand. Yeah. Go to hell. I am not buying into it. And then I have other people saying, oh, but now that Tessa's fighting men, it diminishes the women's division. What the hell are you talking about? Diminishes the women's division. Let Tessa have intergender matches with Sami Callihan. That's fine. She's not women's champion. There's still a champion, and there's still the women doing their own thing. Why not have some mix and match? It's not destroying a division. Au contraire, if anything, it's making it even more interesting. If Impact was bold enough, if they had the guts to do it, they could just eliminate divisions altogether. And be very much like Chikara, where there's just wrestlers. There's no men's division. There's no women's division. There's just wrestlers, and everyone fights. Look at Anthony and Smart from Smart to Death. Ring of Honor is actually dying, though. Yeah, Ring of Honor's on life support. Because New Japan doesn't want to be friends with them anymore. Swear to God, I've heard this before. Honestly. And if it does die, if Ring of Honor does go the way of the dodo and disappears, it'll be a sad, sad moment. But you can predict the death of a promotion for years and years and years. Like, I could be sitting here right now telling you, WWE, it's going to die. It's going to die. And then in 30 years, when something calamitous happens where it collapses, I'm going to sit up on my deathbed and say, I told y'all it was dying. Ring of Honor dying. Anyhow, anywho, anyway, gonna wrap this one up. I'm okay with Goldberg wrestling at WrestleMania against Dolph Ziggler. I'm okay with that happening. If it's a short match, a short explosive Goldberg match, because he does have to erase the Saudi show. He really does. He has to remove that from his legacy. He shouldn't have wrestled again. His final match was fine. Absolutely perfect. But yeah, I am absolutely okay. Folks, that's our show. It's really hot tonight. I'm going to open some windows because it's nice and cool outside. I'm going to turn on a fan, maybe even watch a movie. Kristen and I hope you're ready for a movie because I know I am. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all for tuning in this evening, for watching. Be sure to come back next week. Be sure to come over tomorrow for the Blazer Bros. And be sure to mark on your calendars if you want to watch Takeover Toronto with me, Takeover Toronto 2. It'd be my pleasure to have you. Remember, buy the t-shirt, whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. Leave me a tip at tinyurl.com. Tip Warren. And the great ways to show the show your support any way you want. And just by being here, it already touches my heart. And I appreciate you so much for being here. And on that note, I will see you next time.